The Washington Center serves students who are physically and mentally challenged. They have significant cognitive disabilities paired with physical disabilities. This is the only school like this in South Carolina. When the parents come in and they bring their children, they almost just exhale because they have finally found a place that their child fits.
I love that the teachers take the time to really get to know your child individually, that they will help develop their strengths because they've gotten to know what those strengths are going to be. They also know what their weaknesses are going to be, and they're going to help you overcome some of those. So, like I said, each child is so different here that the teachers spend a crazy amount of time getting to understand and figure out my kid and figure out what works for him.
The teachers here are who inspired me to go into teaching. When I saw the love that they had given to my son and all of the many ways that they accommodated his needs and helped him to learn, even though he was paraplegic, even though he had spina bifida, even though he was in a wheelchair, he learned to move throughout the halls without his wheelchair, but in a mobile prone stander. I mean, there are so many pieces of equipment here that are just so expensive that my family never could have afforded. But here at Washington Center, he was able to get into a device that allowed him to stand upright and move throughout the school.
When you've got a child that is visually impaired and you ask them a question and you give them a choice of two objects and they pick the right answer and then they laugh and they show you that they know, that's the biggest thing, is knowing that you've gotten through to them and that you do understand that there's a lot going on. And you've maybe figured out a way to get it out.
Here, I had to be creative. I had to look at the students and determine, what were their physical limitations? What were their limitations? And once I determined what the limitations were, then I was able to devise and come up with adaptive materials that would enable them to participate and enjoy art just like they would if they were at a regular school.
These kids they're so happy whenever they get to do something that they've never done, and they love the staff here. They love being here. It's such a happy experience seeing them control their environment and communicate what they want and not just have to be passive.
The most exciting thing about this staff is that they can look at the children and see the potential in the child, not the handicap, and realize that within each child lies a very, very valuable, precious individual. And they have the ability to draw out that personality and to draw them into learning because they share such a joy for working with children themselves. And it's not hard to motivate them because they care so much about the children, and it's a true calling.
It's very important that in what we teach, the functional academics and the daily living skills, that we allow the students to become as independent as possible. And so we like to teach them how to make choices so that they can be more independent. Give the children a voice. I have students who are nonverbal as well as some who are verbal, and communication is huge when it comes to what we teach. And so we use a lot of assistive communication devices to help them to communicate their wants as well as their needs.
The kids in my class are nonverbal, and just trying to figure them out and trying to see how they communicate and what they can do. We're using eye gaze with a computer camera for some of the kids. We're using object symbols.
We have some children here that are very orthopedically impaired, and they are only able to use a few parts of their body to move. What I've done is I've looked at the different parts of their body, and usually it's their head, and so connect their head up to a switch. And so we had a young boy, and he was able to drive a car using a switch on his head. And it took him a few minutes to realize, hey, I'm doing this. And he laughed so hard, and everybody in the room was just laughing because he realized that he was the one making that car go. And it's not communication, but what that does is that teaches him that he has the ability to do something by hitting the switch. And then I've taken that and I've taught him how to watch a computer program, and then he can make choices. So he's now able to choose, do I want this car or do I want this toy over here?
A lot of students I work with are partially sighted. They see shadows and things like that. So what I did was I come up with a light box that will enable them to see the light when they finger paint. I've used that. I've used special brushes. I saw one of them I used where I saw students have a regular brush and the hand kept sliding down. And I took CDs and glued it on so that the hand would stop, so the hand wouldn't go down in there. Art is for enjoyment. It's for therapy, and one of the main things is the therapeutic aspect. Is that they come in and if it makes them smile, and that's my main thing, is that they come in and they can smile. It makes them happy, and it's a bright spot in their life.
We all have kids that will knock on our door asking for donations or doing a fundraiser, selling something for their school, helping to raise money, and our kids can't do that. To do a fundraiser means our parents are just doing more work than they're already doing, because they're the ones that have to go around and sell things to their friends and that kind of thing. So fundraising is much different for kids in a school like this than in a typical school. Our kids don't have the ability to speak for themselves and ask for the things that they need.
Therefore, it's important for us to be able to, as parents and educators and community members, be able to know what Washington Center is about. And unless you have a child that comes here, you may not have reason to come to Washington Center. So it's important that we get all of our needs out to the community and allow people to know who we are and what we do, and generate support.
We like to take the children on trips throughout the community called community-based instructional trips. One of the things that I think is most needed is funding in order to help us to take more of these trips. They cost. And a lot of the students that we have here, their parents can't afford to pay for field trips and things like that.
For much of our equipment, we rely on donations. Our district is very generous in allocating as much possible for us to be able to use for our students, but so they give us the cake. What we seek is icing on the cake, and that is what we get when we purchase Promethean boards and the bulbs for those Promethean boards, augmentative communication devices for the children to be able to speak, prone standers, and many motion or adaptive move equipment for our children.
With the technology and with the different equipment that's very specialized, we can help a child realize that they can control their environment, that they can make a choice, that they have a voice, even if it's a computer-generated voice, to say what they want to say. And unfortunately, it's not something that can easily be picked up when you run to Walmart. It's something that we have to go through specialized companies, and so it has a premium price. But I have seen that if we have options to try, it makes a world of a difference in these children's lives. They have a higher quality of life.
It costs a lot of money to educate children like this. It's not about simple things like we need a lot of pencils so the children can hold pencils. We need special equipment to put into little hands that don't work well to help them learn how to hold a pencil. It's a lot more expensive than regular education, and every single one of these kids is worth it. You never know when someone in your family will be affected by this, that they will have a special needs child and kind of be at their wits' end as far as financially how to help educate them. So we need people that are burdened for the disabled community, and starting with small children, helping them to develop whatever skills they're going to be able to develop by giving them the equipment they need to do that.